All right, well, good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with the Bible. This is going to be probably the last one for the year, just for the sake of the Christmas holiday and the New Year's holiday. And so this one isn't Psalm 110, which I had kind of planned on doing, but this one kind of came out quickly, something that just kind of jumped out at me. So we're gonna do this one instead. And so it's titled A Christmas Carol, Forgive Them, for they know not what they do. Now, I imagine you can understand both of those references, but we're going to kind of dig in for a few minutes here. So during the Christmas season, most of us, if not all of us, like to dedicate ourselves to watching some Christmas movies, some Christmas shows. The old beloved ones for me, it's always the old classics, Miracle on 34th Street, the old black and whites, It's a Wonderful Life, those kinds of things. And then reminiscing as a child, we always watched the cartoons Christmas Eve. I don't know if you remember, Opus and Bill had a Christmas special that came on Christmas Eve. And just some of the other, we always watched Rudolph and all the claymation movies and stuff. And I don't think the new ones really can ever compare to those, and that's just my opinion. But then sadly, with like all the streaming that we have, all the, movies on demand and stuff, you have to pay for subscriptions to Apple and Hulu and Disney and Amazon, all these different things. And then you're paying every month for the subscription, and then you got to pay again to rent the movie to watch just once a year. Rudolph was almost $8. If you want to watch any of the Charlie Browns, you have to have Apple. I mean, it's just, tried to watch It's a Wonderful Life on Amazon. In the beginning of the movie, it gave this warning, like, well, not a warning, but like info. The end of the movie has been abridged to allow for time. So watching the whole movie, you get to the point, if you've ever seen it, you get to the point where Clarence saves George out of the water, and then the next scene is when George is running back to the town saying Merry Christmas. It skipped the whole chunk of the movie where George sees what life would be like if he was never born. So I'm glad I didn't pay for it, but it kind of irks me a little bit that you're only going to do it once a year, and you have to spend all this money just to see it. But I guess that's the age we live in. I remember when you could watch anything you want. Well, not everything you wanted, but the stuff that you normally wanted to see at Christmas time was on regular broadcast television. And the worst case scenario was it was snowing and you had to go outside and fix the antenna. But I miss those days, to be honest. Now, I know you're kind of asking, hey, what does this have to do with Christ? Christ's statement on the cross in Luke 23, where it says, "For if they Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do," verse 34. And so, if you wait just a second, I'm sure that I'll kind of clear it up. Just the other night, we were watching A Christmas Carol, and so there's several million versions of A Christmas Carol, and while I like a lot of the old ones, we like to watch the one that was voiced by Jim Carrey, the Disney kind of spooky, uncanny kind of animation. It's a good one. I like the way it's done. And so, getting to the purpose, there's two scenes in that movie where Scrooge is being led around by the ghost of Christmas Present, and he shows him the house of Bob Cratchit and his family. And so they're just getting ready to sit down for Christmas dinner, and Bob Cratchit raises a toast to Scrooge, and his wife is like, "Why would we drink to that fool?" Kind of, not in those words, but you get the idea. And Bob Cratchit is like, "It's Christmas." And he's extending this compassion to Scrooge, who has given him a job, who pays him minimally at best, but still pays him. And so his wife wants to talk bad about him, and Bob Cratchit says, "It's Christmas." And so kind of extending that mercy for that day, for the representation of that, of the gift that we've been given by Christ. And so it's just something about that scene kind of brought this statement here to mind. And then there's the other scene where the ghost is carrying Scrooge to the home of his nephew, who invited him at the beginning of the movie, invited him over for Christmas dinner, and Scrooge said no. And so the nephew was like, "Merry Christmas anyway." And so they're having this, they're sitting around the living room, and they're discussing, they're playing a game of words. And so somebody had something that was supposed to be the answer, and everybody was trying to guess what it was, and they were guessing a donkey, and was it like a beastly animal and all this other stuff, and it came down where it was Scrooge. So they were kind of picking on him. And then the nephew goes on to say, I feel sorry for him. I feel compassion for him. He deserves a Merry Christmas just like anybody else. And so it's this extension of mercy. And so I think of Matthew 5:44 and 45, talking about loving your enemies and praying for those who persecute you, and really kind of extending that love to those who don't deserve it. And so in both cases, it's this pointing out that it's Christmas. It's pointing out that there's compassion that is necessary, that mercy is offered. And so I thought of that verse in Luke 23, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." They're in the middle of, I'm going to kind of lighten it a little bit, bah humbugging the message of Christ and the life of Christ and the ministry of Christ. And Christ is like, forgive them. They don't understand what they're doing. And so in a sense, Bob Cratch and then Scrooge's nephew are saying, forgive him, because he doesn't quite understand what Christmas is really all about. And then, of course, happy ending, Scrooge figures it out and all that good stuff. But I was reminded of the mercy of Christ in that moment. And so extending mercy during this Christmas season is important, because a lot of times, and we see it, Christmas tends to bring out the best and the worst of people. And so, and for various different reasons, but I'm drawn again back to this idea that Christ asked God to forgive them, or to offer forgiveness for them, because they didn't know what they were doing. It's the compassion of Christ. Paul says in Romans 5:8, "But God commendeth his love toward us, in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us." He didn't wait for us to get it right. He didn't wait for us to figure it out. He didn't wait for us to understand Christmas before extending mercy. And so Christ came to earth in the form of a helpless, dependent infant, only to live a life as a sinless servant and sacrifice himself on behalf of a people who spit in his face and crucified him. Not only is Christmas a time to celebrate his birth as a child, but we cannot look at him as a newborn without acknowledging him as a Savior, who in great mercy extended an offer to us. And as that Savior, he made a way for us to be in an intimate fellowship with God. On that cross, Christ looked toward heaven and cried to God to offer forgiveness to his sinful people who didn't deserve it. And that forgiveness, that gift, is continually extended to every man, woman, and child who will humbly accept it. This Christmas, my prayer for you is that while all of the boxes and packages are yet wrapped under your tree, or however you do it, that you set your gaze upon the greatest gift ever given to mankind, the gift of redemption and love from the creator of the universe through the Savior, Jesus Christ. There is no other gift to compare. There is no other gift. You think of that phrase, it's the gift that keeps on giving. You open up that gift, the reception of forgiveness and eternal fellowship with a holy God. And every day his mercies are new. Every day you receive a blessing because of that. And so it's a Christmas gift that can never run out of momentum. It can never run out of blessing. And if you haven't received that gift, this Christmas, I pray you will. I pray that that gift of salvation that Christ offers through his birth, life, death, burial, and resurrection, that you would receive it, and that you would find the real spirit of Christmas in that, and that you would be joyful, and that you would start 2025 a new creation. Thank you for watching. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and hopefully we'll see you in January for Psalm 110. Thank you, and God bless.